Today on StampTV, I'm going to show you a fun card project with a shabby Swiss dot background featuring the new Journey of the Heart StampTV kit. Let me show you the tools and products you're going to need to make this project. First, you're going to need some ink, and I'm using the Gina Designs black Onyx ink along with some of the Moonlit fog ink. You're going to need a Cuttlebug folder, and I'm using the Swiss dot folder. You're also going to need some cardstock, and I'm using the Gina Designs black Onyx and the white cardstock. I also have some of our white Organdy ribbon. This is the 5/8 of an inch that comes in the kit. And you're going to need some scissors and some tape. For stamps, you're going to need some of the stamps from the new Journey of the Heart StampTV kit. And the ones I have here are this set of daisies and then the greeting Thinking of You. And the daisies are from the Love and Prayers mini set, and Thinking of You, that one's from the Little Branches stamp set. So to begin, I'm going to start by making our background. And that background is going to be created using a Cuttlebug folder. So I've cut a piece of cardstock 3 3/4 of an inch by 5 inches. And I'm going to run that through the Cuttlebug folder. So let me grab the Cuttlebug here. And I'm going to start with an A and a B plate. And then I really like my dots to line up. So I take a little bit of extra time making sure that these are straight. And so I'm going to line that up. And once I have it all lined up, I'll check it. And then I will put that in there and then put the other B plate on top and run it through. Something about those dots or stripe patterns, they kind of need to be straight or else the card looks crooked even when it's straight. So there is my finished Cuttlebugged piece. So now I want to create a shabby look on this Swiss dot folder. So I'm going to grab some of that Moonlit fog ink. And I'm going to start by just rubbing the ink down the surface of the cardstock just to pick up some of the ink on the dots. And that's really a fun way just to make a polka dot card base or card layer that only the polka dots are a different color, so you can coordinate them to your cardstock. But I want it to look a little bit shabbier than that, so I'm going to go over it a couple more times and make sure that I get some of the ink in between those lines. And you can see how I'm doing that. And I'm also going to make sure that I get it kind of dark around the edges. Kind of like the way that looks. And do the same thing here. When you get your ink pads, they'll have actual labels on the back. I have all the test pads, making sure that they're correct before we order them. So there is a shabby polka dot background. I really like that, and I like this color too. This Moonlit fog color is so pretty up against black and white. So. All right, so I'll give that just a second to dry, and of course I have ink all over my fingers now, but my next step is to grab this small piece of cardstock here, and I'm going to use my black Onyx ink along with the daisies. I'm going to ink that up real well, and I really like using the Gina Designs black ink when I'm stamping solid images because it's such a nice solid black ink. And excuse my head if it gets in the way, but I want to stamp that. You can see how nice and dark that is. Now I'm also going to stamp the greeting, and I've lined that up on the grid line of this acrylic block. And I'm going to put this right down here at the bottom. So there's my little Thinking of You down there. Now I want to layer this on top of a piece of black Onyx cardstock. So I've cut out a piece here, and I'm going to layer those two together. Place those. I love this real small little border going around. You know I like my little skinny borders. Okay. Now I want to add a little bit of ribbon in here. So I have some of my Organdy ribbon, and I'm going to cut just a small strip. Let me cut this little end off too. And I'm going to wrap it right around the center of the flowers. So I'm going to flip that over and secure that well on the back using some of this mono adhesive. Now I want to actually tie a little knot to kind of make it look like it's tied around those flowers. So I'm going to slip my extra ribbon here underneath, and just going to tie a nice tight knot right in the center there, like that. And then you can just cut off the excess using some nice sharp scissors. There we go. So now I have a little bow. I think this one can be cut a little more. A little bow there around my flowers. Now this whole panel is going to go on top of a wider white panel, so it gives me a little bit of a larger border around the outside, and I like the way that frames it out, and I like keeping that ribbon tucked under there because that secures it just a little bit more, especially if you're going to mail a card like that. And always add a little bit of tape over the ribbon before you secure it to the layer. So we'll put this piece here like that. So there's my focal image, and it's a nice big focal image with the greeting right on that panel. This way it can go on top of my Shabby polka dots. But before I do that, I want to layer the Shabby polka dots onto a piece of black Onyx cardstock, keeping with that black and Moonlit fog and white theme. Now some of you may have swirl punches, others may have an electronic cutter where you have flourish type swirly files that you can cut out, and some of you may have some really pretty swirl or flourish dies. So find something like that in your collection and cut out 2 of them using some black Onyx cardstock. Now what we're going to do here is, and every flourish is going to have its own little twist, so just kind of drape your flourish over one side and around the other side of each corner. And remember, these flourishes are both punched out this way, but all you have to do is flip it over to get the opposite side, so that would be the opposite. So I'm going to put one down at the bottom there. Now once I know that they're in place and that's where I want them, I'm going to secure those on the back just by adding a little bit of mono adhesive right on each of those little spots. And then I'll lay it back down again like that. And you can maneuver this any way you want. If you want the flourish to be a little bit more on the cardstock and not hanging over quite as much, you can just kind of shift it around a little bit so it's kind of more down toward the end of that corner. So I'll do that. And then I'm going to do the same thing back here. I'll add a little bit of tape back here and flip that around there like that. Now this whole panel is going to go onto a card base, and I have a white card base right here that I already cut and folded, and I will adhere that on. And one thing I like to do when I have these flourishes is add a little bit of extra tape onto those as well. This way they stay tucked behind that cardstock and they won't shift around. And so that is going to go onto my card front here, my card base. And the final step is to add this piece of this focal image, and then if there's any little bits of flourish sticking out, you can kind of curl them over your focal image. Now I've already made this card so you don't have to watch me tape that on, but here it is. Here's the finished card. And you can see what I've done is added a little bit of tape underneath the two flourishes so that when I press it down, it sticks to the card, to that focal image piece. So there is my finished card project. Try this card with ivory cardstock and some craft or warm cocoa ink for a warmer version, or add some soft pastels on white cardstock for a springtime look.